Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am breaking down the beats from the Disney cartoon Aladdin. Earlier this week I broke down Mulan and it was really fun. Again, Aladdin is a great example to use to practice identifying the beats because it is written for children, so it is a more simple plot, but it's also by Disney, so it's well done. Identifying the beats in other stories and seeing how they executed on them can be really useful for your own writing as you are structuring your story or editing the structure of your story. And again, if you think that I misidentify any of the beats, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about your ideas, so I'll just jump right into my bullet page. We'll jump right in with Act 1. One of your main jobs in Act 1 is to make your reader root for your main character. In Aladdin, they do this by showing Aladdin proactively getting food for himself, working hard to keep that food while the guards unjustly, all this for a loaf of bread, try to capture him, and then see him give it away to hungry children. So we have a proactive main character who is good at what he does. He is the underdog, and we see him save the cat or do something good for someone else right at the beginning of the book. Another job is to show how your main character's life sucks because of their flaw. Aladdin's life is obviously terrible. He has to steal in order to eat. He lives in a rundown, abandoned building. He has no real friends and can't see how his future could ever get better. He feels trapped. Aladdin's theme is self-worth. He thinks that his self-worth is dependent on his success and actions, not inherent in himself. The first beat is the opening image, a one-scene snapshot of your character's life at the beginning of the story. Aladdin's opening image is him running away from the guards with the bread he stole. We get to see immediately that his life is pretty bad. He can't even afford a loaf of bread. The next beat is the setup, multiple scenes letting us see the main character's life in more depth. Here we get to see Aladdin protecting the children, living in his home, stealing the watermelon, meeting and saving Jasmine, and getting captured by Jafar's guards, then helping Jafar, who's in disguise, get the lamp. The setup is a little bit longer in Aladdin, pushing the other beats a little bit further past where they would normally be if you're looking at percentages. During the first part of your story, often during the setup, is the theme stated, where a side character implies to your main character what their internal problem or theme is. For Aladdin, I identified a statement that is actually opposite of what his theme is. The rich guy coming to court Jasmine, after Aladdin saves the children from his whip, tells Aladdin, "You were born a street rat, you'll die a street rat, and not even your fleas will mourn you." At the end of Act 1 is the catalyst or inciting incident, which happens to your main character and changes everything for them so drastically that they cannot go back to their old way of living. Aladdin's catalyst comes as he is betrayed by Jafar, trapped in the pyramid, and rubs the lamp to discover the genie. This is an example of a catalyst that isn't a giant bad thing. It's big still though, because once Aladdin knows that he has a chance to change his life, he could never go back to simply being a street rat. The debate scene, a scene which gives your main character a chance to digest what happened during the catalyst and decide what to do next, finishes off Act 1. This happens as he talks with the genie about what the actual rules are, tricks the genie into getting him out of the pyramid, and then decides what wish he actually wants to use. Now your main character is pushed into Act 2. Your main job of Act 2 is to give your reader the promise of the premise or act on the blurb of the book or movie. In Aladdin, this is Aladdin using the genie from the lamp to become a prince. Your second job is to show your main character trying to solve their problem in the wrong way or externally. Aladdin does this by lying to everyone about who he is. He has the genie manufacture success and riches for himself to prove his worth to everyone else. He lies and says he is a prince, a status he sees as having worth compared to a street rat. The first beat of Act 2 is Break into Two. This is one scene where your main character proactively chooses to enter Act 2. Aladdin does this when he wishes the genie would turn him into a prince. The B story, another one-scene beat at the beginning of Act 2, is next. This is where your main character meets the character or characters who will help them to complete their character arc. Aladdin's B-story characters are the genie, Jasmine, who gets introduced earlier but then reintroduced, and Jafar. The next beat is Fun and Games. This is where your character gets to do what is promised in the blurb. In Aladdin, this beat includes the Prince Ali song, Aladdin getting to know the Sultan and Jafar, and Aladdin courting Jasmine. You can have your character flourish or flounder here. Aladdin flourishes, having an upward trend during fun and games. He has ups and downs, but overall he does well in his Act 2 world, making friends with the genie, gaining the Sultan's approval, and winning the princess's heart. The fun and games leads to the midpoint, the middle of your story. This is where the stakes are raised. This was a little bit trickier for me to identify. Originally, I thought that Aladdin's midpoint happened after he got almost drowned by Jafar when he was able to break Jafar's connection to the Sultan, therefore winning the princess's hand. I thought that this was a false victory because this is where he is officially given Jasmine's hand in marriage and the Sultan's approval for that. But the stakes are also raised with him realizing that now he has the responsibilities of a sultan. However, I believe that the real false victory comes as he and Jasmine are on the magic carpet. There isn't a large stakes are raised, but there is a moment where Jasmine catches him in his lie and he tells an even bigger lie to cover it up. The rest of the Act 2 is then spent raising up the stakes until the all is lost. One reason that I think the magic carpet ride is the midpoint is because on the magic carpet ride, Aladdin gets what he desperately wants. Jasmine falls in love with him. He gets to be with Jasmine. It's very common for the midpoint victory to be the main character getting what they want or thinking that they get what they want. This pivot or midpoint brings us to Act 2B. Bad Guys Close In is the next beat, keeping the tension building and highlighting the fact that the main character still needs to solve their internal problems. Whether your main character is flourishing or floundering now depends on what you did in Act 2A. This will be the opposite. For Aladdin, he is now floundering, the opposite of Act 2A. He gets almost killed by Jafar. He finds out that he is going to be the Sultan. He gets in a fight with the genie, continues to lie with Jasmine, and has to figure out what he's going to do with the mess that he has created. This tension all climaxes at the next beat, the all is lost moment, where the worst thing that could happen in the story happens. The all is lost for Aladdin is when Jafar gets the lamp, uses the genie to take over, and reveals to everyone that Aladdin has been lying to them. It really stings because if Aladdin had just been honest with everyone to start with and set the genie free like he'd promised, none of it would have happened. After the all is lost, your character needs a dark night of the soul, or some time to wallow in the terrible things that happened and then have an epiphany about what to do next. Aladdin's dark night of the soul takes place in the cold mountain where Jafar sends him. He saves the carpet, giving himself a way back to everyone, and realizes that he needs to stop lying to everyone to fix things. This pushes your main character into Act 3, where you get to deliver on everything you've built up in the previous acts. The first beat is Break into 3, where your main character proactively moves into Act 3. Aladdin does this when he comes back to the palace to make things right. The next beat is the finale, or the Storm the Castle. Aladdin's Storm the Castle is trying to defeat Jafar and free Jasmine and the Sultan. Storm the Castle is broken up into 5 subbeats. The first of these is Gather the Team, where our main character gathers help in the form of friends and any supplies for Storm the Castle. Aladdin does this by saving Abu and the carpet and then going to the palace where everyone already is, and trying to get their attention without Jafar seeing. The next subbeat is Execute the Plan. For Aladdin, this is when everyone is trying to get the lamp and Jafar is using his magic to stop them. The High Tower Surprise is an unexpected barrier to their plan that forces the main character to prove their character arc. In Aladdin, this is when Jafar is a snake squeezing Aladdin to death, having stopped everyone from getting the lamp. Now the character, in Dig Down Deep, needs to prove to the reader, or viewer in this case, that they have actually changed and completed their arc, and execute the new plan is when they actually do. In these 2 beats, Aladdin accepts who he is and that the genie will not be able to change him into someone else to save the day. He uses his street smarts to trick Jafar into wishing to be a genie. And of course it works and Jafar gets trapped in his own lamp. Aladdin actually proves his change in the closing image when the genie offers to make him a prince and Aladdin instead wishes the genie free, proving that he has accepted himself for who he is and can recognize his own worth even when he's not someone as prestigious as a prince. The closing image is the final beat, mirroring the opening image and showing us that now that our main character has completed their character arc and made those internal changes, their life is good. In Aladdin, the last scene is where he sets the genie free and the law gets changed so that he and Jasmine can get married. He has friends, money, the princess, and is totally content with who he is. He gets to live in the palace that he was dreaming of when he lived in the broken down abandoned building. There's not a super strong mirror, but because his situation is so opposite of the beginning, the reader can clearly see the difference between who he started as and who he ended as. So that is my analysis of Aladdin. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think of it, especially if you disagree with any parts of it. I would love to discuss that with you in the comments. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.